create music.
Hey guys, how are you doing? I'm richly blessed. Pray that you are as well. All right, so clearly I'm in a different environment. I'm not in my studio. I'm actually on the road doing some work. And I figured that this would be a really great time and place to start a new series of videos that I've been thinking about for a little while and kind of talking about and planning how can I actually do it. And that is a series called Music That Changed My Life. Music that changed my life. Music that, do you hear what I'm saying to you? This music changed my life. That's right, music that changed my life. I want to talk about albums that really resonated with me. This is not a referendum on what the best albums in the world are or who the best artists have been or anything like that. We just do positivity over here, so we're not going to compare or put other people down or anything like that. The purpose of this series is to talk about just different albums that artists have done that literally changed my life, like exposed me to something that I had not experienced before, changed my mindset about something, or just really impacted me in a really heavy way. All right. Now, to be fair and as a disclaimer, the majority of these are going to be gospel records, right? Because growing up, that was all that was allowed in my home. All right. Now, as I got older and started sneaking off and doing my own thing, obviously I was exposed to other things. And then as an adult, I was exposed to even more. But a lot of these gospel music is at the core of my being, the center of my heart. So most of these records are going to be gospel records, just as fair warning. Second disclaimer, I don't know how to actually play the music without getting copyright struck. So I'm gonna show you the album artwork as we're going through this series and talking about different artists and different albums. But I'm not gonna actually play the music because I don't know quite how to do that without getting copyright struck on the channel, and I want that to not happen, and I want you guys to actually be able to see the video. That would kind of defeat the purpose of that. Maybe on Patreon or something like that, I'll do something at some point where I kind of play some songs, but we're just gonna kind of talk about things. I'll put up the album artwork so you can go and search things out for yourself. All right, without further ado, the first, and we'll break this down. Each video will either be about an album or about several albums from the same artist. All right. And so this first video, there is no way in the world I could do this series and have it be authentic to me and not have a Fred Hammond / commissioned edition. There's no way. If I wasn't going to include Fred in this, I might as well not do this series and I have to do Fred Hammond / commissioned because I could probably do a whole separate video for individual albums, but we're not going to do that. So let's just talk about Fred Hammond and commission. So we'll start with commission because when I think of Fred is synonymous with commissioned to me. So when I say commissioned, I think Fred Hammond. When I say Fred Hammond, I think commissioned. Man, I remember when I was, and this is probably when I was in junior high school, when I was a kid, commissioned was like a heavy staple in my house. I have two older sisters, and so this is back when they had like actual records. Young people, there used to be a thing called records that we played on record players, right? And so they would have like commissioned records, but I was too young to really be into it at the time. The first commission album that really really connected with me was State of Mind. I remember when my oldest sister, she went away to college. Both my sisters did, but my oldest sister specifically would always come back, and she would come back. She was the music head. So whenever she would come back, she would have like new music for me. And this back when they had tapes and stuff. And so she would have like tapes that she made for me or stuff like that. So one time she came back and she had a copy of Commission's State of Mind on cassette tape. And she gave that to me. And I listened to that thing probably till it broke. Oh my goodness. I was familiar with Commission, but that was the first one that really sunk home to me. And then moving on from there, I mean, obviously I went back after that and got into the Ordinary Just Won't Do record. Then Marvin Sapp comes into the group, and the Number 7 album and the Matters of the Heart album. Like those records, if you wanna understand my thought process towards like background arrangements and harmonies and stuff, you got to go listen to Commission and Fred Hammond's stuff, because you are going to hear something that sounds like Fred Hammond and or Commissioned on probably anything that I do. It's just, I'm not trying to do that. It's just it has impacted me so much that just their influence is going to be in my vocal performance, in my music, in my arrangements. It's just gonna be. You're gonna hear it, right? So those were obviously impactful to me, those Commission records. Crazy. Then Fred Hammond goes and, he leaves Commission and he starts ultimately Radical for Christ. Okay. Again, I want you to understand that at this time, the black church, we weren't doing praise and worship like that. I think praise teams were kind of just becoming a thing. We weren't doing praise and worship like that. It was all choirs. It was John P. Key. It was Hezekiah Walker. And I'm gonna do a separate choir edition for this. But we weren't doing praise and worship. So when Fred Hammond came out with Radical for Christ and the Inner Court album, it was probably a collective, what is this? Like, and for me, for some people, it might have been kind of I don't know, what is it? For me, it was like, yo, I don't know what this is, but this is it. This is the thing. And that record impacted me in musically, but probably more so than that, it impacted me spiritually, to be honest, because this was when I was a teenager. This is when CDs were, I got my first CD player. And so, we went to the store and got some CDs, and I would just listen to Inner Court just over and over. Like, it is another one of those things like, bro, how are you, from a writing perspective, like production wise, I understood because it was Fred. You know what I'm saying? I understand Fred's production. I'm used to it from Commission. Vocal arrangements, I understood because I understand Fred. Yes, I understood that. But the writing was just a different side of things. And I know he was working with other writers as well, but Commission's writing wasn't that. It was good. It was a different type of good, but it was subject matter wise and just the approach wasn't what we heard on Inner Court. And just that urban praise and worship. Fred Hammond really is the creator of urban praise and worship. And just hearing God expressed in the way that it was in the writing on that record was just like, man, this is crazy. Then comes Spirit of David. Now look, I know, I'm talking about me. I know that most people, when you say what's Fred's best album, most people will say Pages of Life. Most people will, and Pages of Life is crazy good. For me, Ed, is Spirit of David. Spirit of David, when I tell you, I literally went to sleep listening to that record every night, probably for over a year. Spirit of David, to me, is probably the greatest, just gospel album ever made. To me. just from beginning to end, that worship segment from Promise Keeper, which I believe is track 10, all the way through to the end of the record is probably the greatest string of songs. We talking about Promise Keeper. Then the acapella, the Lord is good and his mercy endureth forever. Like that whole thing. And then into Draw Nigh. And then it just Breathe Into Me, Prodigal Son, Lo, I Am With You, into Call Me Righteous. That string of songs is like, bro, what were you on, bro? Like, what, Fred? What were you on when you made that string of songs? We need to have a conversation, sir. What was going on in your life at the time? Like, what kind of tapped in were you to put those songs together and say this is gonna be? Now the whole rest of the record is good, but I'm just talking about from track 10 to what, 15, 16? Like, what were you on, bro? Because I need to be on that. Oh my goodness. Just the writing, the arrangement, the structure of things was just mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing to me. Crazy. And then obviously Pages of Life follows up after that, and it's just more of the same. Like, dude, and by Pages of Life I'm in college. And it's just, dude, what are you on right now? There was a blind man on the roadside, and he heard a commotion. It was Jesus passing by with the crowd, stirred his emotion. Oh, like, what are you on when you writing that? What's going on? Like, what's going on? I remember being in college and just listening to that, and then, you know, pay-per-view was a thing at the time, and so he released the basically the DVD or the VHS recording of a live concert of this. All right, post-production Ed here. Okay, so that pay-per-view was actually not for Pages of Life. It was for Purpose by Design, which I'm realizing now I completely forgot to talk about, which I don't know how I forgot to talk about Purpose by Design, because that album was crazy too. By this time, I'm in the position where whatever Fred puts out, I'm going to get it, no questions asked. He could have put out a record of him singing the ABCs, all right, and I would have been there for the Fred Hammond ABC record. Like, I remember getting a ride, actually getting my mom to come and take me. Oh, I didn't have a car at the time. I'm probably like a freshman in college, early on in freshman, sophomore, somewhere in college, and getting a ride all the way up to the Livingston Mall in New Jersey to go get that Purpose by Design record. Hadn't heard a single from it, nothing. Obviously, that turned out to be a crazy, iconic record, and that was the pay-per-view that was the album that was really the feature of this pay-per-view. All right, so I wanted to mention that, and I want to talk about Purpose by Design, because this could not be a true Fred Hammond music that changed my life without mentioning that record. All right, back to pre-production in the hotel Ed. On pay-per-view, and I remember, I think I was home for the pay-per-view, and I remember just sitting on the side of my mom's bed, just like this, just the whole pay-per-view. When the curtain comes up and Fred is there on bass, I'm like, oh my God. And just being glued. I don't think I moved from that spot for the entirety of that pay-per-view, just taking in everything. And obviously Israel came from that. Like, you know, Israel was actually playing guitar on, I forget which song. It might have been Please Don't Pass Me By on the DVD. It was one of the songs. Israel was a special guest, and then he took off after that. Man, that was so impactful to me. Then they mess around and do a commission reunion. Brother, I wanted so badly to be in Detroit for that. Now I'm in college. I don't have money to go to Detroit. There's no way I'm gonna be there. That reunion, absolutely insane. That then introduced me to a lot of the older commission stuff that I did not know about or wasn't fully aware of, that my sisters were into. So now after that, now I'm going back listening to the Pink album and listening to So Good to Know You and all So Good to Know the Savior and just all those old records that I didn't know. So that introduced me to just a whole other world of stuff. That was crazy. So then comes Pages of Life Chapter 3. And though that album was great, I listened to the mess out of it. But what really impacted me more was the DVD. Just watching that, especially, the concert absolutely was from beginning to end crazy. But especially the behind the scenes content that was on the DVD. They had different rehearsal footages. They had then footage from the day of the concert where he was traveling and just kind of talking. And, you could tell he was going through some personal things at the time. And, now we kind of know what some of those things were, but just kind of talking about that, working through that, just showing the process. Again, I'm a big process. Just how do you do that? How do you approach these things? And so being able to see kind of all of that happening was amazing. And the concert, of course, was amazing. Then the next album that really impacted me, and this is an album that people kind of, I won't say they slept on, but it was different because it was a departure from the RFC sound, and that was Something About Love. Bruh. The writing and the transparency that was going on that record. Well, if you haven't really listened to the Something About Love album, that's the big single from that was He Lives, boom, 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 He Lives, right? And that was great, but there's a lot of amazing songs on there. But go back and revisit that record if you haven't listened to it in a while. That record is crazy. There's a song towards the end of that record called How Do You Love That Way? Crazy. There's a song I think right after that, where he's talking about some of the things that was going on in his home. Like just the transparency and the writing, like, man, so good. Like, impacted me. Like, hey, it's okay to be open and transparent and let people in your writing. And I've always been that way, but it again was even more licensed to do that. So good. So then there were other albums, of course, but the next one that really impacted me, Fred messed around and did a romance album called God, Love, and Romance. And I'll be honest with you, when he said that he was doing a love album, I'll be honest with you, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to hear that. Like, hold up, Fred, I love it. I don't know if I want to hear you in that context. But then I got the record because it's Fred. So anything Fred puts out, I'm going to get. And to my surprise, that was a good album. It was a double album. The first part was the romance album, and the second one was more, traditional praise and worship stuff that we know Fred for. But that romance album, yes, like that was a good record, and he made it very clear, like, see, with gospel artists, you got to be careful doing like R&B stuff or romance stuff, because it could be real corny or try to be overly spiritual, and he was like, nah, I'm going to make a romance album. I'm going to make it abundantly clear on these songs, I'm not talking to the Lord, I'm talking to or about a woman, and we finna do this R&B. And that album has been a great blessing to me. I'll tell you, I had that playing in the background when I proposed to my now wife, and it's been playing at other times that we're not gonna talk about. But that has been a great, that album has been really like, and it really, in all seriousness, really gave license to, you don't have to stay in a box. Like, you can go out, and if do other things with the same excellence and still glorify God and give honor to God even in that. And I will say that Fred is still impacting me now with just the way he's approaching this stage of his life, where he is kind of shifting more to video content and that kind of thing. And he's always done this throughout his career, all the way back from the commission days, just the excellence and the all-in way that he approaches stuff, where Fred's gonna give you everything he has at that time, whatever's at his disposal, however good he can do a thing at that moment, like he's going to do that. Sometimes it's gonna fall flat, sometimes it's gonna be well received, but it's always gonna be excellent. And just the way Fred is attacking and approaching this video content, creation phase of his life is just so inspiring to me. So Fred, I don't know if you are watching this or if you're ever gonna see this, but man, I hope I get to meet you one day, shake your hand. Thank you so much, not just for your music, but for your life, and just all that you have done and shown, and just how you have just everything you've done has impacted me. And I know that people hear it in my music and the things that I do, and I hope that they see it in the way that I try to approach things and doing things at the highest level of excellence that I'm able to do with the resources I have in that moment. So thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying this content, because you're gonna see a lot more of these throughout the year. Go back and listen to some of these records and check some of this stuff out, and I hope that it inspires you the way that this inspired me. All right. See you guys again soon in another video. Please take a moment and like and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to join for control room content. All right. See you guys again soon. Peace. Thanks for watching. Hey, here's some other content you might want to check out. Just a suggestion, no pressure. Feel free to watch whatever you want on the channel. Also, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? That way you can be notified when new videos are coming out. And feel free to hit that join button too for members only content in the control room. See you.